the UN Development Program was here as well and had a fantastic problem around looking at their capacity and how to best arrange it. And to talk about that, I want to invite Monique Williams and Harlan Harris up to the stage. So, welcome, Monique and Harlan. Let me just get rid of that for you. Sorry, guys. Everything is hiding from me. There we go. All right. You just use the arrows.
Okay. Good morning. We were told we had 3 minutes to present, and we took that literally. So we'll try to be quick. But we did a lot of work this weekend, and we want to share some of it with you. We started with the problem of trying to understand, very similar to what Ken and Ben presented, that we were looking at for the UNPD, how best to allocate their staff resources for increasing expenditure to the countries. And we did do some modeling, and similar to what they found, it's very difficult to predict. But we're going to tell you that some key issues are really related to data and to measurement. So I'm going to turn it over to Harlan now.
Thanks. So yeah, we had a great team working on this from a variety of different angles, from mapping the data that we had to building predictive models and sort of everything in between. A large amount of data munging and data cleaning, as you'd expect. To the data that we were given sort of two primary data sets. One was a list of programs from the last 5 years, so various properties of the programs, geographies, the budget for individual programs, the expenditures for the programs, and some other properties. That was one. The second one was a big list of staff. So what was their role? What was their grade, like their sort of seniority level? How long had they been with UNDP? Gender, a variety of other things, and a link back to the programs that they were associated with on any given year. We also, with the help of our UNDP colleagues on the team, were able to get salaries based on staff level to understand something about overhead cost, obviously just a proxy, a rough proxy. And so given all this data, there were several different directions. So one group sort of dove right into that data and started looking at observations, things like trends over time, relationships among staffs, proportion of staff versus contractors versus volunteers on projects, things like program size, region, and so forth. I encourage you to check out our HackPad where many of these visualizations ended up. The other group was trying to understand something about metrics. So there wasn't necessarily a performance indicator here. We weren't looking at the outcome of the project so much as the efficiency of getting money spent effectively. So there's two parts to that, which is what this graph is. So one is that it's good if your program expends the money that was budgeted to it. If you weren't able to figure out how to spend that money, that's a problem. And so the x-axis of this graph shows projects that were either able to meet or potentially exceed their budget or spent considerably less than their budget. The other issue that we got, and some of the other data munging, is we were able to take staff who were not allocated to programs within a country, sum up their salaries, reallocate them back to the programs in that country in that year based on the size, and use that as some sort of rough proxy for overhead costs. So if you spent a certain amount of money on a project, but that was dominated by your overhead costs, that maybe wasn't an effective use of resources. And so this is showing each dot is an individual program. The red ones are the largest ones, so $1 million projects are larger. And I sort of arbitrarily split this into 4 categories. So if you were near the target, that would be one category. If you spent a lot, that might be good. It might not be not good. It's kind of hard to say. We don't really know. If you couldn't spend 75% or as much as 75%, that was another category. And if you had a high overhead, that was a 4th category. And we only had a small amount of time to build models of this. I'm just going to show you really quickly. So trying to predict whether you failed to spend the budget, a variety of properties sort of jumped out. This is a classification tree. So there were things like, they tended to focus on things like region, focus area, budget, and years of service was sort of a secondary thing. So that was one of our discoveries, is that the things that are dominating this particular metric were not the properties of the staff, but were properties of the project. And then on the bottom, looking at the projects that tended to overspend their budget by a lot, the things here were more about staff, so years of service is something that has some interesting trends over time as well, and also the staff size, and to a small extent, date year as well. We have a lot of ideas for future work, and please check out the HackPad for more of our results. Thanks. Anything else you want to add?
I just want to thank our great team back there. Everybody stayed with us. We got some new people joining. We did do some very interesting work on trying not just to look at expenditure, but expenditure related to the mission of the project. And we got some great data on the Human Development Index that we were merging. We've got a lot of really interesting things in our HackPad, so take a look at it. Thank you.
And of course, can we also acknowledge Irina and Lena from UNDP, who came out for this event and stayed the whole weekend and answered a lot of those questions. Give it up for Irina and Lena. Without them, there is no project.
Yeah, I just want to say another thing, that Ken and Irina and Alina should get together, and we should talk about how we can do this work together, because it really is the same problem, just two different organizations.
Fantastic. So any questions for Monique and Harlan? Ooh, lots.
Oh, okay.
Take your pick.
All right.
Everett.
Awesome. Can you go back a couple slides to the big plot? There was a bunch of lines that abruptly stopped at once that I'm sure you noticed.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So some investigations are reporting bias come in at budget, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, it's certainly the case that there are a large number of projects that don't go over budget. And I think it would probably depend on the circumstances. Things like crisis projects sort of jumped out here as types of projects that tend to go over their allocated budget. And that's probably a good thing, that they were able to find ways to spend money in a crisis. But
well, right, there's some really clear lines, there's a clear pattern in some of the distribution.
oh yeah, there's two things going on here. One is there's a cutoff at the budget itself. And the second thing is that these sort of swoopy lines, this is because the numerator and the denominator of this ratio that is on the y-axis are related to each other. And so that each line is one program year, essentially, for a set of projects. Or sorry, one country year for a set of projects.
Very cool stuff. Yes, sir.
You said that there needs to be further research, but I'm interested to hear about the longevity of staff and what the research is on.
It came up a couple of times. I don't know if folks on the team wanted to jump up and talk about anything that you found.
Well, one thing, I think we mentioned that the years of service was related, and we found that over time, the average years of service declined. And that's related to the use of service contractors increasing. The staff, the general staff stayed constant, but the number of service contractors increased over time.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on related to changes in the way money was allocated to staff. We would have loved to get more into the components of teams. One thing we did find is that there are a large number of projects that just had a single person associated with them. We don't know whether this was a data problem or actually a property of these projects, but it does make it difficult to say, 73% of your one person should have a particular
Right.
property to be effective.
Right, and when we're looking at projects that only have one person, you're not looking at a mix of staff. You're looking at a person's individual's characteristics. We don't have any data on like personality or something, any kind of network, that would be associated with that person doing a very good job just in and of himself. We only have these broad staff characteristics. So that's an idea for future work, including some different measures.
Fantastic. Thank you guys again. If you want more questions, find these guys.